So today, before we get into adding, subtracting using the standard algorithm, we are going to learn how to estimate sums and differences. So the biggest rule to remember when we do our math today is that you have to round before you add or subtract. So the Central School District needs 5,481 forks and 2,326 spoons for a school function. About how many forks and spoons will they need all together? So whenever you see a word problem like this and it says about how many, that's your key word to know that that's going to be a rounding question. So I'm going to box that since we always box our keywords. About how many forks and spoons? So because we don't want exact numbers, we want to get as close as we can to the real value. So it tells us that we need to round to the hundreds place. So I'm going to round both of these numbers and then add them. So over here, 5,481, the 4 is in the hundreds place. Underline that. Look next door to the 8 and see that 8 is 5 and above. So I'm going to give that 4 a shove, and it's going to go up to a 5. But this 5 in the thousands place is actually going to stay the same since it's before the underlined digit. So that 5 stays the same. We just figured out that 4 is going to round up to a 5. And then these two digits become zeros because we're rounding it to the nearest hundred. Same thing, 2,326, we're going to underline the 3 in the hundreds place. Look next door to the 2. 2 is not greater than 5, so we are going to leave 3 as a 3. We cannot round it up. So that 2 in the thousands place stays the same. That 3 stays the same. And then these two become zeros. So we've rounded both of those numbers. Now we can add them. So 0, 0 is 0, 0 plus 0 is 0, 5 plus 3 is 8, and 5 plus 2 is 7. So 5,481 plus 2,326 is about 7,800. When you get to the adding part, it should be very, very easy. There shouldn't be a lot of regrouping just because you're adding it with zeros. You might have some regrouping if, let's say that this was 5 plus 5, but it should be a pretty easy adding because all our numbers are easier to add because they're rounded. Same thing, you're going to be subtracting as well. So first round, then add or subtract. So we're going to round this, and it's always going to tell you what to round to. So again, nearest hundreds place, 7,542. This 5's in the hundreds place. Underline it. Look next door. 4 is not big enough to round that 5 up, so that 5 in the hundreds place is going to stay the same. That 7 stays the same. And then these two become zeros. Same thing, let's do underline that 2 in the hundreds place. Look at the 2 in the tens place. Again, it's not big enough to round it up, so we're going to leave it the same. So we got 3,200. So now we can subtract these a little bit easier. 0 minus 0 is 0, 0 minus 0 is 0, 5 minus 2 is 3, and 7 minus 3 is 4. So 7,542 minus 3,225 is about 4,300. When you are doing these problems today, make sure, pay very close attention to whether or not you're supposed to be adding or subtracting. So you're always going to see the sign, and we know that the answer to a adding problem is called a sum, and the answer to a subtraction problem is called a difference. So it might say find the difference or find the sum, but you'll always see also a sign to show you what to do. Let's do a couple more. So estimate and then round each number to the given place value. So it kind of looks like our work from Monday, where it gives us a number and then it has a place value right next to it. So we can do it a little bit easier this way too. So 1,454 plus 335, rounded to the nearest hundreds. Let's round both of these numbers to the hundreds place. This 4 is in the hundreds place, so we're going to look next door. That 5 is big enough to give it a shove, so the 1 stays the same. Actually, I'm going to write that here. 1 stays the same. That 4 becomes a 5, and then those 2 become zeros. Same thing, underline the 3 in the hundreds place. Look next door. That 3 is not big enough to change this 3 in the hundredth place. So we're going to keep it the same, and that's going to be rounded to 300. Now I can look at it and add it. If you can leave it this way and add it this way, totally fine. Or if you need to write it going vertically, you can also do that. 1,500 plus 300, that's 0, 0, 8, and 1. So we've got 1,800. 2,871 plus 427. Again, we're rounding it to the hundreds place. Underline the 8 in the hundreds place. Look next door. That 7 is big enough to give that 8 a shove. So our new number is 2,900. And then rounding 427 to the nearest hundreds place. Underline the 4. Look next door. That 2 is not big enough to change that 4, so we're going to leave it as a 4. These 2 become zeros. Now with this one, I can add it vertically, but I'm going to write it again going up and down. Because 0 plus 0 is 0, 0. 9 plus 4 is 13, and we have to carry our 1 up to that 2. So we're going to keep our 3 down here, carry the 1, and then 1 plus 2 is 3. So our answer is 3,300. If you can make sure that you know that and just go horizontally, that's totally fine. But also double check to make sure that you are carrying that 1. And then these two are actually going to be subtraction problems. So 2,746 minus 1,529, we're rounding these numbers to the nearest tens place. So I'm going to underline the 4 in the tens place here. Look next door. That 6 is 5 or above, so we're going to give that 4 a shove up to 5, but everything before that's going to stay the same. So that 2,700, and then this is going to round to 50, minus 1,529, underline the 2 in the tens place, look next door. That 9 is big enough to round that 2 up. Everything before it stays the same. So we've got 1,500. That rounds up to a 3, and then this becomes a 0. Now I can subtract it. 0 minus 0 is 0. 5 minus 3 is 2. 7 minus 5 is 2. And 2 minus 1 is 1. Last one, 48,344 minus 7,263. And we're rounding these to the closest thousands. So underline this 8. Look next door. That 3 is not big enough to round that 8 up, so it's going to stay the same. And then underline the 7. Look next door. Again, that 2 is not big enough to round that 7 up, so it's also going to stay the same. And now we can subtract them. 0 minus 0 is 0, 0, 0. 8 minus 7 is 1, and then 4 minus nothing is 4. We got 41,000. So be sure to round before you add or subtract. all of your answers should end in 0. If it doesn't end in 0, that's how you know you did something wrong. Round first, then add or subtract. Also, be careful and know which one you are doing first. So when you get to your problem, a good idea might be to highlight your signs just so that you do it the right way. Make sure that you add when you're supposed to add, subtract when you're supposed to subtract. And just remember, yeah, all your answers will end in 0. That's a good indicator that you did it correctly. Good luck.